Peace and blessings, family. On tonight's edition of the STEM Files, we chat with Brother John Bradley, a seasoned shipping container contractor, on building with shipping containers. Tune in for more after this. Again, greetings, peace, and blessings, family. Welcome to the STEM Files, the voice of STEM talent in Black culture, where we highlight the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I hope y'all missed me, family, so I know I missed you. Pardon me again for not being on for last week's show, as I had to handle some things, but I'm back and better than ever. Jabril Muhammad, aka Jabrilliant Engineer. I am a mechanical engineer focusing on naval ship fluid systems with a background in material science and engineering, the study of different materials and their properties for different applications. I'm always joined by my co-host, Tariq Muhammad, aka Tariq Cardiac, who is a biomedical research scientist with a background in biological pathobiology, which is the study of how diseases form in the brain and other blood vessels. Family are live at the STEM Files on Facebook, the STEM Files on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to our content on YouTube. Like, comment, and share tonight's show, and follow us on Instagram at the STEM Files. This is every Thursday and Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And today, again, is our special Sunday edition. Family, as we always say, regardless of whether or not how energized we are as the host, the show is not about us, but about those that we bring on. So without further ado, I want to introduce to some and maybe reintroduce to others our esteemed guest, Brother John Bradley. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Hold on. I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me do something real quick. Say that again, Brother Bradley.
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Can hear you. Awesome. I'm doing well. I can't complain. Thank you again for coming onto our wonderful platform and gracing us with your presence and your intellect and your knowledge. So before we begin, can you give us a brief introduction about who you are, what you do, and why you add value to the STEM Files today?
My name is John Bradley. I'm from a small town in Tuskegee, Alabama. I started out building shipping container houses because of the housing crash. And I felt like I needed to change the direction we was going in as far as my living situation. And so I did research on how to build shipping container houses, and I built my first one about 5 years ago.
Awesome. So would you say about 5 years ago is when you really kind of first started getting into that industry?
Yeah. I was trying to do research to find out a less expensive method of building houses. I built a conventional house that I currently own. And the market changed. And after the market changed, the house wasn't worth what I was paying for it. So we went back and forth with the mortgage company. And I said, well, you know what? I know how to build a house myself. So I decided to build my own house. And I live in a shipping container house that is completely paid for, no mortgage.
So we are sitting in a shipping container house right now.
This is it.
Oh, awesome. Man, we're going to have an awesome show. Family. Make sure to like, comment, and share. We're going to have a good time tonight. Our beloved brother, John Bradley, is also a contractor and consultant for our parent company, Original Man Scientific. So when we were showing you all what we do with shipping containers and everything, we're definitely working very closely with brother to be able to give you all that aspect of what we do directly to your community for all of your needs. So thank you so much for your assistance with our company and working alongside us. So
no problem.
We talk about shipping containers, right? And we're in this pandemic, people losing jobs and losing their homes. Can you talk about the sheer versatility of a shipping container home? Or even before we get into that, what is a shipping container at its root? What is it, and how can it be used to create a home?
Well, actually, shipping containers was, I think, was invented by this guy back in the late '60s, and it was basically used to ship cargo overseas and around the world. And they had to build something strong and durable enough to withstand the seas, salt, the different elements. And so they used certain types of steel to construct these containers. And as you know, shipping containers has began to be used for a lot of other things other than shipping materials around the world. And
Right.
they're very
Right.
durable.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The durability. You mentioned something very key. You talked about weathering the elements. When you have a shipping container, you have shipping containers that go out to sea. You have that salt water, right? You have that rain. You have that wind. So you have a really a composite material or a metal material that has other elements to it that's really able to withstand the journey and withstand those weather elements. So can you speak to the versatility of shipping containers, particularly for homes, office spaces, and other applications as well?
Yeah, shipping containers, first of all, like you said, they're very versatile. If I'm not mistaken, you can actually put on corners of a shipping container 190,000 pounds of pressure before
Okay.
that steel would actually buckle. No house that I know of can withstand that kind of pressure. So I've been in talks with people in the Bahamas because they was thinking about building homes on the island out of shipping containers simply because of the durability and the strength of shipping containers. Because as you know, they have a lot of tornadoes and hurricanes on the island. So that would be a great asset for them to build with shipping containers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Awesome. So, like I was saying before, we have a lot of general interest in, our program, OMS Cubed, how we're working with you and everything and our ability to service and provide shipping containers. So, can you walk us through a bit of the process of kind of designing and figuring out what type of shipping container home or how you would construct your shipping container for your particular purposes?
Yeah. First of all, you would need to know exactly what are you trying to do with shipping containers because, like I said, they are very versatile.
Right.
You can use one, two, three containers. In fact, the house that I'm living in now is three containers, but this is called a hybrid shipping container house. Hybrid means it's shipping container and conventional house put together. It's not just shipping containers, it's conventional and shipping containers.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Peace, beloved. What's going on, big bro?
What's going on, family? I apologize for being so late. How y'all doing this evening?
Good,
Doing well.
good.
Doing well. Much better now that we see you.
Oh man, I'm feeling better now that I see y'all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely feel
Excellent,
free to
excellent.
tap in. Definitely feel free to tap in. So I guess my
Got you,
follow-up
got you.
question, Brother Bradley, is I'll give you a scenario. So I have a friend, a young couple, and they own a farm, about 21 acres. They already have a home on the farm. But one of the things that I wanted to get in a conversation with them about is utilizing shipping containers for certain things on their farm. So from that perspective, if I want to use shipping containers on a farm, in your experience, what are some applications I could particularly look into in the perspective of farmland?
Wow, that's a good question. I have a friend currently doing exactly that. He's in the quail farm business.
Okay.
He has about 8 shipping containers that he has converted into quail houses. I think he's producing over 2,000 birds at a time,
Wow.
and we're setting up to not only produce the birds, but we're also going to process the birds, all done in shipping containers.
Mm. Wow. Okay. So when you say process the birds, is it in terms of just housing them, or are they being moved, or how is that process, or what is actually happening when you talk about processing the birds for that application?
Okay, when I say processing, we're going to use quail for meat. We're probably setting up distributions with different restaurants, people who prepare quail. We're currently doing quail eggs at the time. You can also order quail eggs from us. But when we say processing, that means we're going to slaughter the bird, prepare the birds, package the bird for market.
Wow. Okay.
Got you.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. Now, I'm not sure if this question was already asked already, but what was it that made you want to get involved in building with shipping containers? Because I know this is the science of using containers to build homes, businesses, and what have you isn't new. But what made you start from? Because I'm not. So let's take us back a little bit. So when did you get involved in contracting? Like, tell us about your engineering journey so far and how you got involved with containers.
Actually, I built my own house, my own home. I started going through back and forth with the banks over the house that I bought prior to this one. And I got a little upset. And I said, well, you know what? I got the skills to build my own house. I don't have to take this.
Right.
So we went back and forth with the bank. And so I said, I told my wife, we'll just walk away from it. I'm not paying for something that's not worth that.
Right.
And so I started doing research online, signed up for several classes online, took tests, and I already had some building experience prior to that. So it wasn't a big stretch to switch over to shipping containers.
Now, did you notice, were there any challenges that arise when you made the switch? Were there any things that you had to learn or adjust to from the usual brick and mortar?
It was a kind of a learning curve because basically you're not dealing with the square footage right off the bat that you would with a conventional house. Basically, when you use a shipping container, you're taking a small box and you're converting it and you're expanding it to the square footage that you want instead of building it to the square footage that you want. You have 4 existing walls and a floor, which saves time as far as construction is concerned, because once you set it down, you already basically have a structure already there. I've gone for 2 years working on a container house sometimes. And the blessing of that is the structure is already there. In a conventional building, if you let it sit up for 2 years and you go back to work on it, it's disintegrated. So you can work with your finances. Basically, if you save up some money and you get started and you run out of money, well, you can just stop, save up some more money. When you go back, is right there where you started from.
Right. So you're saying that if you were to start a shipping container project, you leave it for 2 years, you can come right back to it. And it's exactly the same.
Exactly the same. You can't do that with a conventional construction because that wood is not going to hold up like that.
Right. I'm glad you brought it up again. Every time someone talks materials, durability, toughness, and versatility, shipping containers are really an embodiment of all of those things. When you talk about obviously the fact that there's a simplicity to a shipping container versus a kind of a traditional home, but also the fact that you can literally take some time off, come back, reassess, and not really worry about from a material perspective, there's any degradation or things like that because of how they're built and how they're synthesized. So that's awesome. So we have a quick question, actually. I'm so glad. Shout out to Malik Baynard, fellow alumni of George Washington Carver High School of Engineering and Science. I got a special shout out for you coming up later. But he talked about how you mentioned taking classes for learning to work on the containers. And his question was, where do you find the classes?
I actually teach classes now. I do 2 classes a year. Due to the COVID situation, we actually did not have the class this year, but it has been in April and October. We do 2 classes a year on hand, You actually get to come out. You actually get to cut the container. Everything you need to know about building a shipping container house from start to finish. Once you take that class, then I will obviously work with you as a consultant if you need further help.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yep. And as a matter of fact, Original Man Scientific, we're going to be helping Mr. Bradley with making his classes more virtual so they can have it more times throughout the year. So we can get the knowledge into the heads of our people more frequently, and more of them can, take advantage of this wonderful science.
Exactly.
So absolutely, absolutely. So my question is this. So, rural areas and urban areas have their own set of rules, own set of guidelines.
Yeah.
What are some of the regulations or building codes that shipping containers have to abide by if they're in a rural area or if they're in an urban area?
That's very good question. That's one of the first things that I get into in my class is basically depending on where you want to locate your container home, different codes, different building codes are different in different areas, obviously. My first home was built in a rural area. I did experience some pushback because it was very new. A lot of municipalities are not very familiar with container construction. But once you go in with a set of plans and you talk to them and they realize you know what you're talking about, first of all, then they kind of relaxed a little bit. Another project I did in Savannah, Georgia, I had to go in and talk with the city councilman because it had to be approved to be built in a city limits. So, there are different criterias in different areas, and basically you have to do your homework, first of all, before you actually invest any money, because they may just tell you can't do that in that area.
And this is regardless of urban or rural, right?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Jabril?
But rural is a little bit more lax than in city limits or city municipalities. You may, encounter a little less pushback in rural areas than you do in city areas.
Okay.
Gotcha. So what would be the process like if somebody was doing it in a small rural area in Iowa or something like that? What would be the process by going to speak to whoever's in charge of that particular municipality? Like, what are the steps that you need to take?
First of all, you would need to go to the Planning and Building Commission in that area. You find out what are the guidelines, the rules and regulations. Some areas you have to build a certain size house. Certain areas you can't put tiny houses in certain areas. So once you find out the rules and regulations in that particular area, they're going to ask you for a set of plans. Obviously, you have to buy your plans or have plans drawn up. And then once you submit your plans, kind of go from there.
Got it. And how long and this may depend on the county or wherever you're living. What is the turnaround? Like, how long will it take for them to get back to you on average?
It depends. The county has to go through a process, and once they go through their process, then they'll get back with you. Sometimes it can take a week. Sometimes it can take a month. It just depends on the county that you're dealing with or the city.
Got it. Okay, Jabril, what you got?
So much is swirling through my head. Thank you so much, family. Again, this is the STEM Files, right? Live on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. Please subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. Jabril Engineer, Tariq Cartier. Yeah, we know you love those names. We're here every Thursday and Saturday. And yes, this is our special Sunday edition. Family, I would be remiss if going into this next question from an audience member, I did not give a special shout out. So I want to give a special shout out to my bro, fellow freedom fighter, and a person in the struggle, and alumni of George Washington Carver High School of Engineering and Science, Akeem White, aka Akeem the Alchemist on Instagram. He's the CEO of Strengthen Your Mentality. If you can't see it, that's what my shirt says, Strengthen Your Mentality, and on the back it says to change our reality. He invited me out to a community cleanup today in the Philly area, Mount Airy, West Oak Lane, Duval, and Chew Street, and he has a question that involves, what are your thoughts on growing food hydroponically in a shipping container?
That's
Excellent question.
Very good question. I was just talking to a brother from UGA a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about actually doing microgreens in a shipping container. In fact, we're going to design something to actually start doing microgreens probably in the next 6 to 8 months.
Awesome. Well, Akeem and Malik, y'all know who y'all are. Hopefully y'all are tapped in and y'all listening in. Family, make sure, again, follow him. He's doing great work. Strengthen Your Mentality, Hydrate the Hood. He has alkaline water, Black owned, and Beautify the Block, what I was a part of today as an initiative in Philadelphia. And tap in to see how you can learn more. Continuing on, I always like to think about things from an engineering perspective. Background in material science, currently working in mechanical engineering. When you're starting to construct, like physically construct from your blueprints, from your plans, your shipping container home, what are some environmental or spatial considerations that you take in terms of like how flat the ground is? If in terms of like natural sunlight, things like that, in terms of where you're constructing, on square footage, things like that.
Yeah, it depends. It doesn't have to be on. In fact, because it's a shipping container, you can probably put it in the side of a mountain,
right?
Based on how you do your foundation. That's one of the great things about a shipping container. You have very few limitations that you with that than you would with some conventional houses, because it's a self-contained structure. All you're doing is bracing it up with foundation, pillows and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Gotcha.
My last question before I turn it back over to Tariq. Are there any maintenance considerations? Obviously, you have with the normal home ways to upkeep your home. You got to check the piping, check these certain things every so often. What are some of the things that may be different structurally or just general home maintenance that you will be looking into as someone owning this home, living in a shipping container?
Okay, that's one of the things that we talk about in the class. There are some differences in shipping container, basically because what you have is an airtight structure, whereas a conventional home has a lot of air circulation through it. So one of the things you would have to be concerned with in shipping container homes is being able to ventilate it properly and insulate it properly. Those are one of the two main concerns that you would consider in building a shipping container home.
Absolutely. Ventilation, family, ventilation and insulation. Very key things. How to keep it cool, how to keep it warm, right?
Exactly.
Tariq, back to you, bro.
Yeah. What are some of the most amazing things that you've seen done with containers? I know you've been in it for quite some time, but what are some of the coolest or most innovative ways you've seen a container used?
I was just telling the brother about my good friend who's starting his quail farm with the container. I was just down there yesterday, as a matter of fact. He's in Tuskegee, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he set that container up, he has his water system, lighting system, heating system. It's insulated. He's got a really nice operation out of that container. I mean, I hadn't seen anything like it. It's really nice.
Nice. Do you often find yourself being asked to help with any of those? Like, okay, so let me put it this way: what's the coolest thing you've ever been asked to help with building, or is there anything, or have you just focused on homes and small dwelling spaces for now?
Yeah, I've done cabins, off-grid cabins. I really enjoyed doing that. Got a good friend. I helped him do an off-grid cabin.
Mhm.
He's off on solar. He has rain catchment system.
Nice.
Um, it's really nice. I think he has a 20-foot shipping container that we had a living room, kitchen, bedroom. It's just a nice little cabin.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool. Do you
Awesome.
well let me do this. I'm gonna pull up a picture real quick and I want you to kind of tell me about it and let the audience know the story behind this pic, okay?
Mhm.
So what are we looking at here?
You're looking at my house.
Excellent. So what was the journey like with this? Like how did that come about or how did that go?
um, Again, I went back and forth with the mortgage company, and I decided that I don't have to take this. I can build my own house. And
Right.
so that's when I started doing the research and built my own shipping container house. But where you see the double doors on the back, that's
Mhm.
Right.
about a 35, what is it? About a 30-foot deck on the back of that now. So it looks a little different now.
Wow.
Got it. What was the process? Did you already own this land or was it
I
something
did.
that
I
okay,
actually own
excellent.
the land.
So if somebody wants to acquire land to actually do this, what would be the process with that? What would be the process for that, and what are some of the things that they can get around if they were doing something like this that they wouldn't with a traditional brick and mortar?
Um, in fact, I'm working with Tuskegee Institute now. The what is it? Architect department. They're doing some designs and stuff that we've been talking about, trying to get together on. Um, we want to develop 150 acres in Tuskegee,
Right.
uh, with predominantly shipping container homes, shipping container stores, shipping container grocery stores. We just want to try to develop a complete community out of shipping containers eventually.
Mm.
Excellent.
I got
So
got it.
okay, bro.
Real quick on this. So, family, I hope y'all understand. You know, as I'm listening, I'm thinking about us as a people. So much. Again, going back to where I was earlier today. It was a block with trash everywhere. It's a dumping spot. They come through, they dump it. Nobody cleans this up, and they dump it. So, like when we're in our quote unquote hood areas, right, and you see that so much of it is let go. It brings back the understanding of why it's so important for us to own things. You just mentioned 150 acres to build shipping containers on. Well, that doesn't happen unless either you or the person who owns said acreage gives the okay. So when we start to talk about to take back our communities and to be able to build them up to where they should be and where they once were, ownership is so key because then you can start doing very innovative things for low cost to get you a high return by then making banks, supermarkets, right? Different types of stores and homes, and then developing your community from there. So I'm thankful so much that you were able to turn on that light bulb in my head when you just said that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
definitely.
foundational process, and that's one of the things. See, I grew up in Tuskegee.
Right.
I don't know how much you're familiar with Tuskegee, but as a child growing up in Tuskegee, I didn't have a lot of the stereotypes that most Black people had in America because everybody was Black. And my grandmother used to always tell me, you can do anything that you put your mind to. She
Right.
didn't say you can do anything they allowed you to do. She said you
Mm,
can do anything that you want to do. And
right,
there's
right.
a difference.
Mm.
Awesome.
So talk about, it's we talked about taking back our communities. We talked about being able to make a new reality for our people. But talk about how important it is for Black people, just specifically Black people, to understand what this science is and why it's important for them to grab a hold of it.
I was listening to Dr. Boyce Watkins earlier today, and
Yes,
he
sir.
talked about ownership in the community. Again, if you understand the history of Tuskegee, where I come from, it was most prolific Black area in its time, not just for America, but around the world. As a child, it was a train that came to Tuskegee, which means we produce millions of tons of food from Tuskegee that went out around the country every year. A lot of people don't know that. There's a place called Brickyard Hill in Tuskegee. Brickyard Hill was where the ex-slaves made the bricks to build the school. So I come from a background where I saw people build everything that they had themselves. And that impacted me for the rest of my life. There's a book that I would suggest everybody read. It's called Working with the Hands by Booker T. Washington. I don't know if you can see that.
Move it a little bit to your right, I believe. Yes. Yep. Working with the Hands by Booker T.
Okay. This was one of the books that basically changed my life. A lot of the people that he talked about in this book, Booker T wrote the book himself. I actually knew when I was a little boy, and I didn't know who these people were. But as I read the book, I was like, wow, these were some really great men, And
Right.
I was really, really inspired as well as impressed, because they was just like me, just everyday people that you see that really did exceptional things that you didn't really know about until I read the book.
Right.
So
Right.
it was amazing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Working with the Hands.
Excellent.
Washington. You mentioned something, what you see, your grandmother inspiring things in you, you having a certain reality in your purview, both visual and mental, that disallowed you to be mediocre, right?
Exactly.
You had a certain requisite knowledge base that was built on, that was grown upon, to be able to have you see where you are today and keep moving. And you're a reader. We're always taught, right? The whole old adage is, you want to keep something from a Black man, you put it in a book. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Now we're on the flip side, where so many of us are reading so many different things that we're confused. We're confused in that way too. But that's a whole nother conversation. But that is such a powerful thing, where your environment literally shapes who you are, for better or for worse. So our ability to challenge what is perceived as impossible is literally only as good as what we're eating, mentally, spiritually, and even physically.
Yeah.
On a consistent basis, to be able to, when we meet an obstacle, be able to think critically and overcome it. So that was a great point, and I made sure to put that book you mentioned in the chat for people to be able to read as well.
Right. We got a question from the audience. This is from Brother Damon X Johnson. I believe he's out of Los Angeles. How much does the average container cost, or the usual cost for one?
It varies on where you are, the condition of the container that you're interested in, because you can get them practically new. You can get them, we say A grade, B grade, and C grade. But the price can vary from $1,500 up to $5,000, just depend on the condition of the container.
And in terms of where to get them from, like, do you get them from ports? Like, where are some of the many places you can get a container from?
You can get them from ports. there are a lot of different places now that actually stock and sell containers. There, like I said, I would, go on YouTube, or I'm not YouTube, but Google it and find the area, site it, place in your area. They're all over the country.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Got it.
Got another question. I have another question, but it's a question from Khalila Mariam Farrakhan. She asked, does shipping containers come in different sizes in case you have a small property and need small outer buildings such as workshops or classrooms 6 to 12 feet?
Yeah. You can get 10-foot containers, 20-foot, 40-foot. I'm currently working on a 45-foot high Q, which means it's not 8 feet tall, it's 9 feet tall. So, there's several different sizes, and the price range varies as well.
Awesome. And another question from Khadija El Amin Muhammad. Hey, Auntie. Can containers be welded together for more square footage, or can they only be stacked?
Good question. You can both weld containers and stack containers. I built a house in Savannah, Georgia, with 3 containers. I welded them together, and I cut the walls out to make it from an 8-foot to a 16-foot wide. So it varies. You can weld, and you can stack them.
Awesome. Yes,
Great. I believe I touched on this earlier, but this is another question from Brother Damon X Johnson. What was your original background, or describe to us like your educational background before you got involved in container homes?
Okay, I always tell people I didn't go to college, but I went to the College of Hard Knocks.
Come on.
Okay, that's still college.
College.
I guess when I say I grew up in Tuskegee, it encompasses everything, because there were so many skilled people in Tuskegee. In fact, I knew some of the Tuskegee Airmen. In high school, I took free flying lessons from one of the airmen. And we were eager to help each other succeed as Black people in Tuskegee. And that's one of the things we don't see so much today.
Listen.
It's about a me, mine. It's more of a selfish thing. The children, when I was a child, everybody was your mom and your dad. If you did something wrong, everybody beat you up. And so things are different now. Like I said, I was trying to think of his name. Not Colonel Lewis, Chief Anderson was one of the Tuskegee Airmen. And I guess in high school, I flew over my own house. That was very exciting. But
Wow.
There was really nothing in Tuskegee that we couldn't do, or was ever led that we couldn't do. So that's how I grew up.
Okay, so we got a question from actually, this is actually a client that we're working with and helping him develop his container home. This is from Ali Dawoodel. I'm not understanding the question, bro. Can you rewrite it in the comment section?
Part of me wants to say is, how did he build his house? But
Yeah,
let him, the brother, put it in there, so we get it, the actual facts on that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, this is another question too.
There we go.
Just real quick. Thank y'all so much for the import of questions. We love the engagement. Y'all are asking very awesome questions and making our jobs and our guest job really easy. So another question, as we go back to Brother Ali's question from Dawn Rashay Muhammad, she says, please ask if you use apprentices or interns in your business.
Oh wow. I had a brother from Alaska who was, I guess, was an apprentice. He actually came and he stayed here with us for a couple of months. And I was in the process of building a home in Savannah, Georgia. And he actually worked on it with us, did some of the cutting, welding. I think he got quite a great experience. But yeah, we have done that.
Yes, sir.
To answer the question.
Awesome. And definitely, with Original Man Scientific and you consulting and being a contractor with us, we're always looking to help inspire young people, brothers, sisters, and people interested in our various networks to get up and running. So if you have people, for those watching, listening, that are in STEM, interested in the sciences, particularly shipping container homes and everything, definitely reach out to us at Original Man Scientific to understand more about OMS Cubed and how you can be involved as a customer, but how you can also be involved as one learning more. Again, Original Man Scientific, our parent company, is a research and development company geared towards delivering the advantages of R&D, research and development, to you and your community. To learn more, go to www.omansci.com. That's omansci.com. Or follow us on social media at OMANSCI_. That's OMANSCI_. Richard Man Scientific family.
Excellent. So I think we have that clarified question now from Brother Ali Dawood. He said, never mind on my question. He did the work himself. Okay. So yeah, we're good on that. All right. So this one is from Sultan Muhammad. What is your opinion on container homes versus modular homes?
Modular home to me is basically a wood frame structure. The shell, the framing is wood, is basically a wood frame structure that's being able to be moved and set up on a foundation. A container house is made out of steel. I forget the name of the steel, but it's a very durable steel. And a modular home might last you 20 years, maybe. After that 20 years, you're gonna have to really go through. I mean, it's like average home today may last 30 years. By the time you finish paying for it, it's time to rebuild another one. The shipping container home will last 100 years. And if you paint it and sand it occasionally, it'll last 100 more. So, that's a no-brainer to me.
Awesome. I have
Gotcha.
on the actual durability of it. So as an engineer, I work in the procurement, quality assurance, and the delivery of both brand new and refurbished, metallic equipment.
Mm-hmm.
As it pertains to shipping containers, have you worked with, or are you able to build homes with both new and refurbished shipping containers? And if so, what are the pros and cons of each?
I've only worked on older containers for a reason, because that's more or less recycling is environmentally helping the environment instead of having millions of containers just stroll around the planet.
Right.
We can take them and repurpose them, which means instead of paying $6,000 for a container for a new container, or $20,000 for a new container, depends on the container, you can get one for $1,500 and serve the same purpose and last just as long.
All right. So this question is from Kiara Muhammad, my wife of yours truly. We talked about the different projects that you've done with containers, but what has been your favorite? Like number one, the most that you've enjoyed doing since you started?
Oh, I just finished the house last week. This sister out of Houston, Texas. Make a long story short, they contracted me a couple of years ago to do a container house for them. And in the process, she lost her husband. And that's what I was saying. It can sit for a while. And when you go back, it's just like you left it. But she lost her husband, and I just finished working on her house last week. And so it sit for several months. And we went back, we restarted the project, and we finished it, and she moved in last week. But that was one of the best projects I've done, because I had a chance to pull from a lot of different experiences. That each time I do one, my last one is always the best, because I get to pull from all of the mistakes and failures or whatever from the previous ones that I did, and each time I get better.
Wow, wow.
You know, as you're talking, as we're here, you know, I can't help but think about all of those, including yourself at this point, that have helped pave the way for our respective areas in STEM. And, you know, we think it very important for us to do our best to give back to those coming behind us, you know,
Exactly.
black, white, and different, and particularly those who look like you and I, of course. If you have any conversations with young men, young black women, or just young people in general who are interested in STEM, interested in architecture, interested in some of the sciences, engineering, mathematics, but don't necessarily want to go to college, what is some advice that you give them for still being able to engage in the wealth or the great breadth that is the STEM fields, and be able to not only make money for themselves, but also see a level of success for themselves outside of money as well?
That's a good question. Like I said, I never went to college myself, but I always made sure that I had skills that I could use. So I've never had to look for a job per se, because I've always had skills that people needed.
Teach.
I'm a carpenter, but I never went to school to be a carpenter, because I've worked with carpenters. I've always worked with people who had skills, who taught me these skills. I'm an electrician, but I never went to school to be an electrician, but I can wire a house from one end to the next. So I would say get books,
Right.
educate yourself. Nobody can stop you from teaching yourself a skill.
Right.
I drove trucks for years, and at the time I started driving the truck. When I wanted to drive trucks, there weren't any truck driving schools in the area. So being in Tuskegee, I found some brothers that had truck, North American Van Line. I got on the truck with him, and I drove with him and stayed with him for a couple of months. Got a learner's license and started driving truck. That's how I was taught to drive truck. So that's basically how I've done it all my life. I meet people with the skills and knowledge that I wanted to acquire, and I work with those people. And it wasn't about money. It was about me learning skills, learning the skill. So I didn't go there saying I wanted to be paid, because I didn't know anything. You know, I just wanted to learn the skill.
Yes.
And offered my time for that skill.
Awesome.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So we got a question right here, and this is actually a two-part, because it's right along the lines with the question I had in my mind. This is from an audience member, brother Damon X Johnson. So, you know, we talked about the pricing. We talked about how to get yourself squared away with the counties and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But what about those who have low income? What about the low income families, those who earn low wages? Are there any programs that can get them started on container homes, or are there any things that they can do just in general to get themselves started with container homes?
I often say that we live in a microwave generation today. I saved my grandmother taught me how to save. She said, if you get a job, regardless of what it is, always pay yourself 10%.
Mm.
I did that all my life. So before I paid a light bill, a gas bill, or any bill, I paid myself 10%.
Go ahead.
And I saved enough money to do certain things without having to borrow money. And that's how I was able to do it. We always we I think it's a trap, in my opinion, to deal with bankers. They've never been for you, never
Mm-hmm.
have been, in my opinion. Everything I've built because I've saved and I put my money back and I invested in myself. Uh, Again, my house is paid for. I don't owe anybody nothing. The truck I drive is paid for. Just save, man. It may take you a couple of days longer, but when you go to the bank, you paying him every week or every month. So pay yourself.
Right.
That's
Man,
my advice.
man,
Right.
you done open up a whole new can of worms because in our generation, there's a lot of education or people looking to provide education, and it's good stuff on things like credit, investments, right? Understanding banking and how to flip things and whatnot. But you went back to really those lowest terms. If you really have no business in the arenas of credit, investing, if you can't save any money, if you cannot discipline yourself to save money, and I'm talking to myself first, because it can be a struggle when we live in this, like you said, microwave society. We want things now. We're given opportunities and ways to get things when we want them. See, it'd be different if we always had to work in the traditional ways for everything, but now there's a lot of workarounds like credit and everything. But I love that you mentioned that because it goes back to having a disciplined mind, body, and spirit, and being able to, when you see something, work and invest in yourself, as you said, to be able to get the things that you need to have a better quality of life. So that was awesome. That was awesome. Tariq, as we're closing the show, I definitely want you to highlight again how can people work with OMS Cubed, and how can people work so that we can, if they are interested in creating or getting shipping container homes for themselves going forward.
Yeah.
Questions?
Absolutely. So if you're interested in putting a container home on your property, on your land, just go ahead and reach out to us on our website, omansci.com. That's OMANSCI.com. We are working very closely with our brother John Bradley. He consults us on our cases and makes sure that we're doing our part to help make sure that you get the product that you want when it comes to container homes. So go ahead and visit us at OMANSCI.com. Once again, that's OMANSCI.com.
Yes,
Bro.
sir. So it's so crazy. I told you, Mr. Bradley, when we started, that the show was gonna go by fast.
Yeah.
It's so funny because how you told me you were nervous, I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell this whole time, man. Like I was just in awe of all the game you were giving us on so many levels. Thank you so much for coming on and gracing us with your presence. And you know what I'm saying, teaching your little brother something. You know what I'm saying, because like we saying, you always have to have that student mentality. Understand that there's always somebody that knows more than you, and that your ability to be humble and your search for knowledge, not to lord over somebody else, but to help yourself, your family, and your community is so key. So thank you so much for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so now that we're approaching the end of the show, there's a special part of the show that we like to call the STEM File Speed Round. So this is just a lightning round of questions that we ask you to get to know you a little bit more outside of container homes. You ready for it?
Okay.
All right, cool. So what's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
Oh, I decide what I'm gonna do for the day.
Okay.
Basically,
all right, you got one? Okay.
Basically,
okay, I'm sorry.
I get up, and because I work for me, I determine what my day is gonna be like.
Got you. Got to set the tone. All right, Jabril, you want to go?
Oh no, I was you to tap back in. My bad. Okay, so hot or cold?
Hot or cold?
Yes.
Hot.
I'm gonna say you from the South, so I know you're gonna say hot. All right, cool.
Too much cold.
All right, so now this is going to be an interesting answer because you from you from the old school, so you might have a different outlook on this. So iPhone or Android?
Oh wow. I'm an Android man.
Okay. See, you see, Jabril. You see, sometimes you just gotta pay attention to the generations before us because they know what they talk about, man.
I respect my bro. I argue with you about it, not him.
My son likes an iPhone, though.
Man. All right, cool. So here we go. So favorite thing to cook?
Oh, I'm getting into vegetarian, so I'm doing this thing we're doing now is making meat out of nuts. Walnuts.
Okay.
Meat out of walnuts.
Yeah, it's pretty good too.
That sounds interesting. Okay. All right. Let's see. Jabril, you got one?
I had one and it literally left me as soon as you asked me. I was ready and then I thought, come back to me. I'm gonna fish it back out.
Got you. All right. So if you were stuck on an island for a year, what 3 albums would you need to survive on that island?
Stuck on, that's a good one. I would need to have water, number 1. Number 2, I would want some type of seeds.
No. So the question was albums, like music albums.
Oh, albums.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vividrive. I like Vividrive.
Okay.
And old school OJs and Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
All right.
Come on now. What's going on? That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. What's the worst job you've ever had?
Oh wow. Worst job I've ever had. Man, I never mind working, so I've had some hard jobs, but I never considered them bad. I mean, it was just a job. I can't think of one right off. I worked at steel, a lead company once. And they did these tests on you to make sure you didn't have to get lead poisoning. I hated that job. So yeah, there's one.
Okay. I got one. $2 million today or $4,000 a week for the rest of your life.
Say that again.
$2 million today or $4,000 a week for the rest of your life.
A little of a lot or a lot of a little. That's the first thing come to mind. I'd say I go for a lot of a little because for the rest of my life, I can take $4,000. What is a week?
Yes, a week.
And I can generate that $1 million pretty quick.
I like it. I like it.
In fact, I can generate more than the 2 million if I had 4,000 a week. I'm sure of it.
Got you. Because the way you just go ahead, bro.
What's one thing you never leave the house without? Or do your best to not leave the house without?
My knife.
I feel it. Protect yourself at all times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can do a lot with a knife. You know, if you get stranded, you can hunt. I mean, cut stuff up. You can do a lot with a knife.
Absolutely.
Got you. All right, so let's see. If you could meet any scientist, matter of fact, we're gonna broaden it out a little bit. If you could meet any influential person from the past, who would it be and why?
Booker T. Washington.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Because Booker T was pretty much the most influential person in my life today. Talked about this book that I read, Working with the Hands. And I knew a lot. My grandmother knew George Washington Carver.
Mm.
And
Wow.
coming from that experience, the knowledge that they had then, that if we had continued on that path now, we wouldn't be having these arguments about Black people being in the same situation 500 years later.
Come on.
A lot of the problems were solved, but we kind of reverted back instead of taking that knowledge and going forward with it, in my opinion.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's right. Spent a lot of time. We spend a lot of time as a people trying to determine who's going to lead,
Right.
instead of just looking at the examples given to us by those leaders and just doing it. You know,
That's it. That's
always
it.
like,
Working with the Hands is a perfect example. Booker T talked about back in slavery time, he had to convince Black people to farm. Now,
Come on.
Black people said, I've been farming my whole life. Why do I need to know how to farm? Yeah, you've been worked, but you weren't working for yourself. And there's a difference. I work for myself today. Everything I built for myself. And I'm self-made. And I'm happier than I ever been. I'm financially secure. Because I worked for myself. I wasn't worked. And that makes the difference to me.
right. That reminds me of when
That one.
yeah. that what you said reminded me of how Booker T. Washington was trying to get those who were majoring in agriculture to see why they didn't want to major in agriculture. It was because of slavery and what they've been forced to do rather than what they could do on their own for themselves.
Exactly.
You know, so yeah, absolutely.
We got that same struggle today. You know, a lot of people don't want to work with their hands. I have no problem with it. Because I work with my hands, I live in the house that I built.
Right.
Because I worked with my hands. Now, I could have done it the easy way and went and got a mortgage and paid for it for the next 30 years. What's the better answer? You know, mine is paid for while they still paying the mortgage. I can move on to something else. They still paying the mortgage.
Right. Right. Wow.
Man. Jabril, I'm gonna let you take out the last one.
Oh man, I'm just still thinking about what he just said. Okay, so I guess for this last one, and again, you can think broadly, but my name is John Bradley, and I
Hmm.
am
an innovator.
Woo! Wow. Yes, you are. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Yes, no question. No question. All right. For those who are watching, this has been another edition of the STEM Files, where we are the voice of STEM talent and Black culture. I'm your host, Tariq Cardiac, Jabril engineer. Jabril, can you let the people know where they can find more of our content?
Again, family, yes, thank you so much, Tariq. Again, the voice of STEM talent and Black culture, where we highlight the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Typically every Thursday and Saturday at 6 p.m. Jabril engineer Tariq Cardiac. You can find us on Facebook at the STEM Files, YouTube at the STEM Files. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Instagram as well, and Twitter now. The STEM Files.
Oh yeah, I forgot to put the Twitter one up there.
I forgot. I was like, well, we on Twitter now too. Family, it's been a blast. Thank you, Brother Bradley, for gracing us with your presence and teaching us as you have. with this time. I feel so inspired to do some of the things I've been wanting to do for some time. And I know we have so much in store with Original Man Scientific, the STEM Files, and our own personal brands as well. So until next time, family, or do we know who our next guest is, Tariq?
Next Thursday. I do, but unfortunately I forgot. So for those who are watching right now, just stay in touch with all of our social media to get the latest updates on who will be our next guest on the STEM Files this coming Thursday. I believe that's the 12th, November 12th, 6 p.m. Eastern time. For those who are watching once again.
Birthday.
Right. Okay, so it's crazy because I was trying to remember what I was going to ask you about next week, and now remember. Okay, cool. So he might not be on that episode. So as a matter of fact, the STEM Files also falls on my birthday next month. So this will be a good chance for us to do something special on those episodes. But for those who are watching once again, the STEM Files, Tariq Cartage, brain engineer, special guest John Bradley. Peace. Tune in next time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.